As the new leader of the Decepticons, I command you to subscribe to Spurs in Focus.
And just like that, your San Antonio Spurs have tied the series versus Minnesota Timberwolves 1-1 after a 133-95 win at the Frost in Game 2. Welcome to a live episode of Spurs in Focus right here on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Music. The list goes on and on. We appreciate you staying up late. Yes, I know, another late game. But hey, series is tied 1-1. Spurs took care of business. And by took care of business, you want to underline that, underscore it, highlight it. They wrecked them. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, longtime Spurs writer in San Antonio. Don't forget about the Substack, Spurs in Focus Substack, completely free. Go sign up right now. The gentleman you see on the screen with me is Mr. Rudy Campos of The Sports Answer. He is on next at The Sports Answer and a whiz at doing like intros and all that stuff. I can never figure out how he does it, man. I don't know how he does it.
But I get lucky, Jeff. I just push their work.
Yeah, you get lucky. Oh yeah, so let's just get into it. It is a late game, so let's try to get you to sleep faster, sooner than later, I should say. Yeah. As you heard me right now, that was not incorrect. I did not read the scoreboard wrong. No, 133-95. It was a complete beat down. It really, really was. It was like Vader in the final episodes of Maul Shadow Lord. It was just like that. In this case, the Spurs just wrecked shop pretty much from the beginning until the end of the game. It was a laugher. The Spurs left no doubt on the court who was going to win that game from the jump. We're going to get into all right now. We're going to talk about our turning point of the game, standout stats. Standout player for me is going to be a thumbs up. For Rudy is going to be more of a I'm worried about this guy kind of standout vibe.
Well, wait, don't start hating me yet. Don't start hating me yet.
I'm not hating yet. I'm
talking about everybody out there.
Okay. Yeah, everybody got somebody coming in. Thank you for joining us here, Silver Wolf Ventures. We appreciate that. And yeah, we're going to get to your comments as well. So we're going to try to keep it about 30 minutes-ish. So let's dive into it. Let's start off with our general takeaways. And right off the bat, I love the Spurs set the tone. They were the aggressors. They were the ones that came out that were just attacking, playing at a very fast pace. And your two stars, Wemby and Fox, were the ones that got the tone set for them. You look at that first half, 14 points apiece for Victor and De'Aaron Fox. You also had Steph Castle chip in with 12 at halftime. But even in the first period, Rudy, I love what I saw. 7 points from Wemby, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. De'Aaron Fox led the team in scoring after 9 points. He goes 3 for 6 from the field, and he goes 2 for 5 from inside the 3-point line, and he makes his 1 3-point shot in that first period. Overall, I saw Victor and Fox. Your 1-2 punch set the tone early for the team. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, man. They came off of a 21 combined point performance in game 1. Just didn't have it going. And you know what? The Spurs barely lost that game. So you can kind of see when they click early, Victor and De'Aaron, the 1-2 punch that San Antonio does have, they get off to a very fast start. Also you mentioned Stephon Castle. I think he had 12 points as well to add in that first half or so. But it just shows that once this team is rolling, and it doesn't necessarily start on the offensive side, Jeff, because those points came very easy for them. Why? Because their defense was kicked up not 1 notch, but 2 or 3 notches from game 1. You saw them getting super aggressive on the ball. They were just making a lot of great plays. They were. Basically, remember when we talked last game about the fast break points? We broke that down, how they won. It just seemed like every time Minnesota got a turnover, Spurs were on a break. Every time Minnesota scored, the Spurs were attacking the basket at the very end, at the other side of the court. So, yeah, very good that they got off to a very fast start. 28 points combined just in the first half for De'Aaron and Wemby. Shows that once they get going, the rest of the team falls into place.
Yeah. And it wasn't just offensively that the Spurs were shining bright. Defense as well. Now, this was your halftime score, everybody. 59 Spurs, Minnesota 35. You heard that right, 35. Minnesota is one of the better offensive teams in the NBA postseason this year, but the Spurs held them to 35 points. And how did they do that? Out-rebounded them 32-23. What else you got here? Points off turnover. They were the dominant team this time, 8-3 at halftime for your San Antonio Spurs. What about second chance points? They keep it close, 8-9 versus the Wolves. Fast break points. This is what stands out for me. I mentioned about the pace. 10 fast break points for the Spurs at half to the Wolves 3. They led up to halftime for 22 minutes of the first half. How much did the Timberwolves lead in that first half? Rudy, 17 seconds. That's it. 17 freaking seconds. You knew from jump that this team, Spurs, needed to right the wrong they did game one. And what was the big one for me was setting the tone and the pace and your stars contributing. What else from the game?
So, for me, I'm going to go back to compare because remember when I told you all for game one, the Spurs did everything right. They won every statistical category, even percentage of the lead. They held the lead for majority of the game. It was just when you had De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, both guys struggling from the field, you lose by 2. You take that loss and say, okay, we're going to wash our hands of it. What do the Spurs do in game 2, Jeff? They continue to lead every statistical category against Minnesota, 29-5 on fast break points. Points in the paint, 58-36, 22 points more in the paint. Just shows how dominant the Spurs were and how much more aggressive on the offensive side they were getting to the basket. You saw Minnesota get very, very, very frustrated with a lot of these calls by the officials, but they were the right calls. So, I would say that looking at game 2, they continue to just dominate Minnesota on every statistical category, 41% from three-point range, 50% for the game. When you're shooting that kind of percentages, there is absolutely no team in the league that can actually compete. Oklahoma City does shoot at a high percentage, but when the Spurs are rolling, they're very tough to beat. And remember, a healthy Spurs team is an unbeatable Spurs team. Carter Bryant was back tonight. You saw the little bit of difference he made, especially getting under Ant's skin from time to time. So, they led every statistical category. That's the reason why they won so big tonight. Yeah,
it did not start off on the right foot for the Spurs and for the Wolves as well. In that first period, both teams' offenses were sputtering, but the Spurs definitely got things going in the second period and took command from that point forward. You look at the first half as well. Three-pointers, the Minnesota Wolves connected only on 2. They went 2 for 15 from the 3 line, good for 13%. Spurs, they were just one little better as far as makes, 3 for 4. But I like that the Wolves, and credit to the Spurs defense as well, were just making their lives tougher from the 3 line because that's kind of did not do well for the Spurs in game 1. Overall, you saw a lot of good things at half. All right. But so was there going to be the dreaded after halftime letdown from your silver and black? There was not at all. The Spurs outscored them 74-60. Now, a lot of that was in garbage time, so keep that in mind. But the point is that they were in control in the second half. You did not see a letdown. It ballooned the lead to somewhere near 30 freaking points, I believe. Rudy, I think no. The biggest lead for the Spurs was 47.
Yeah.
47 points. This was just annihilation with a capital A in game 2 for San Antonio. Get this. The Spurs led wire to wire in the second half. They did not face any deficit. They led for all 24 minutes of periods 2 and 3 combined. I love what I saw out there, continuing that pressure defensively, out rebounding the Wolves 23-20. You talk about assists. They recorded more assists, 17-12 versus Minnesota. They beat them in offensive rebounding, 7-6 as well. Overall, it was just really good. They coughed up the Wolves 11 turnovers in the second half, and the Spurs capitalized with 11 points off those turnovers as well. Again, the fast break, they kept the pace going. Fast break points for the Spurs in the second half, 19-2. Rudy, I saw a team, Spurs, that were just focused on doing what they do best. Play at a high pace, get in transition, put the clamps on them. We saw them trap it. How many times did we see them trap Ant in the game? They trapped them the whole game. What do you think about that? Was that kind of the right thing to do? To get the ball out of his hands and let everybody else beat you? It looks like that's what they're trying to do.
Definitely, we're talking about an Ant Edwards who's probably 75, 80%, back from health. So trapping was something that I was kind of excited to see as a coach myself of basketball. I was really excited to see Mitch and the coaching staff install that into the defense. And again, reminder, guys, we said that Mitch maybe had a little bit of fault in that last game as well. We said he would bounce back. Him and Sean Sweeney would bounce back on some side of defensive side for the Spurs. And sure enough, look what they did. They ended up trapping Ant, making it very difficult for him tonight. And you saw the struggles. I mean, there was times that he was able to get to the basket, but yet you had a lot of guys collapsing underneath the basket. You even saw Julian Champagny come over and get a block on Anthony Edwards, which you don't normally see when Ant gets a full head of steam go into the basket. He's very difficult to stop. So I love that they were trapping Ant Edwards. I love that they were making it so difficult for him. But not only that, I mean, you look at the scoreboard and really, like, Jaden McDaniels was the guy that was kind of keeping the Wolves hanging around that 34-point mark. But when you have Jaden McDaniels as the guy trying to beat you, you are doing something right, and it's going to be a very long night for the opposition.
Yeah, it's really hard to look for any faults for the Spurs. I think Rudy did find one. I'm not going to take it from him. He's going to tell you about that in a bit. But
bad guy, I know.
Yeah, hey, leave it to Rudy. See, Rudy's got to be the bad guy. Everybody.
I don't mind.
Are you surprised that Rudy's a bad guy? Just leave us a comment in the comment field.
Well, I was the rated R sports star for a little while there, so you got to remember back from the rated R podcast days.
Well, I look at the Spurs team, and again, as far as tonight, game 2 is concerned, I don't see that much fault. I mean, they came out a little sluggish offensively, but that was about it. I could not really see. Well, that's a big issue coming out of game 2 for the Spurs. No, I really did not see one at all. You had individual standout play. Dylan Harper's just a dog, man. He really, really is.
Yeah.
You look at Wemby just, again, being that defensive monster. Everybody was being passed on defense. Keldon Johnson got in the block party. Vassell got in the block party. Julian Champagny woke up. He was a big contributor in the third period, and pretty much it was the big reason why the Spurs put the nail on the coffin for the Spurs. He just caught on fire. He was Super Mario Brother after Mario bites into the flaming flower and then turns into all red and white and starts shooting fireballs. That's exactly what Champagny was in that third period. I look at this game, and we're not going to talk about what you're going to bring up in a bit.
Yeah.
But did you see anything that concerned you coming out of game 2 before the scene shifts to Minnesota?
There's one little thing that I will say, and it is turnovers. I mean, they didn't have a whole lot tonight. They had 16 compared to Minnesota's 22. But there was a point, I believe, in the third quarter where we saw Stephon Castle throw a cross-court pass, get intercepted. We saw them, just kind of fumbling the ball. It almost looked like they were just not trying and kind of letting their foot off the gas a little bit. So there's really one negative. It's just the fact that the turnovers just got to be under control. When you've got a 30-point lead, and I remember reminding Spurs fans at the end of the season when they played the Timberwolves again, or when they played the Timberwolves in San Antonio, Ant dropped 55 and they almost came back to win. I believe the Spurs were up 20 plus, 30 plus that game. And Ant brought them all the way back after scoring 55 on the Spurs to almost win that game. And it had to do with turnovers. So again, that third quarter, I saw, okay, they're committing more turnovers. They're starting to get more turnovers. That's what I thought. They got to control that. They were able to get it under control. So Champagny started getting hot. They started to get back to the basket. So that's the one concern that I have. And that's really a minimal thing, is that those key turnovers in key areas, luckily it didn't come back. I mean, if the Spurs were only up by like 12 or 13, those turnovers would have hurt a whole lot more tonight. So that's one thing I see as a team-wise, just control the turnovers.
I want to highlight the defense, just how good it was in game 2 for San Antonio. Now I have game 2 stats, and I understand it's only a 2-game sample size, but still you like where it's trending right now. So we go on rebounds. So far, the Spurs are averaging through 2 games. I know 2 games, about 51 rebounds per game in the series, but I mean, at least in game 1, I should say. And now they're at 55. So they upped it. So they upped their rebounding. All right. So what about, I don't know. Let's go to steals. So in that first game, they averaged about 8.5 steals in that game 1. Tonight, 13. Recorded 13 steals versus Minnesota.
Yeah.
What else you got? Oh, okay. Well, why don't we go to offensive rebounding? 13. They kept it the same. That's what they're averaging the game one. But you go to the defensive rebounds, they upped that again. 38 in game one, 42 in game two. So they really were paying attention on the defensive side. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what broke Minnesota. The Spurs were balanced offensively, they were balanced defensively. Something that Wemby highlighted after game one loss, where he said himself that he was expending too much energy on the defensive end. You saw a little more balance. He did not shatter any block records, but nevertheless, he definitely was contributing on defense and on offense. As mentioned to start the game, it was him and Fox, and at half, him and Fox that were leading the way offensively together. Really, really, really tough to try to single out one bad thing or just bad things the Spurs did in game two. I think for the most part, Rudy, they corrected a lot of wrongs in game one, from the defensive end to just maintaining energy and maintaining focus. They got it done, man. They definitely got it done. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna push back a little because you said that they corrected a lot of stuff from game one. There wasn't much correcting from game one. I mean, like I said, the only thing that they lost, Jeff, was the final score. That was it. I mean, if you go look at the stats from game one to game two, team wise, you would have thought the Spurs would have won game one by the way they dominated every stat. So I think what they ended up doing was it just kind of clamped down on defense, but it goes back to the two guys that struggled in game one. They came out strong. They came out on a mission. They combined for 28 points just in the first half after combining for 21 points in the whole game of game one. So once you saw them get going, it was kind of like, okay, this is the Spurs team that we expected. So, I mean, there was a whole lot more to correct after game one. I think the Spurs loss in game one just was one of those bad nights by one of your stars. I mean, both of your stars are struggling. It's going to be tough for them to win, especially in the playoffs against a really good Minnesota team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the dominance just continued in game two. And again, I don't think everybody wants to know. Me and Jeff are not, fanboying over here on the Spurs because of this win. We understand you got to go into Minnesota game 3 and 4. You have to get at least one of those games in order for you to get home court advantage back. So build off this win. You got a huge win. Minnesota's probably going to come out a lot more aggressive. You are playing in Minneapolis. Guess what? Those calls that you were getting tonight, you're probably not going to get up there.
Yeah, exactly. And dare I say, maybe the Wolves were just lucky to get that win in game one. I mean, I think they were just really, really lucky to get it, because you saw the tide changing at the end of game one. All the momentum was shifting to the Spurs' way, and Champagne just missed that shot. And otherwise, we could have got a 2-0 lead for the Spurs. I look at this game, Rudy, and I got to ask you, is this the Spurs, or did Minnesota have their one bad loss, just as the Spurs had their one bad loss?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
This was the Spurs, and I'm going to point a couple of stats here, because Minnesota still shot 40% from the field. They still shot 30% from 3-point range. Normally, those are good nights for any NBA team when you're shooting those kind of percentages. They didn't lose the turnover battle very much. It was only 6 more turnovers than San Antonio had. It's just San Antonio played that much better, and that's what it came down to. This was the Spurs team that you saw dominant after that loss in Minnesota, where they ended up losing maybe 3 games the entire second half of the season. So this is the type of Spurs team we saw, and definitely say that they beat Minnesota. Again, Anthony Edwards, even if he would have gone on for 28, 30 points tonight, they still would have gotten blown out, to be honest with you. So it was just a good Spurs win. Minnesota did everything right. They had a few more turnovers in San Antonio, but again, stats don't lie, and it shows that Minnesota played a good game tonight. They just got out. They got beat by the better team.
Yeah, and as one of our listeners right now, our watchers, Ghost, I'm not going to even try to say it. I'll just say Ghost. Yeah, we highlighted that, the turnovers for Minnesota and how much the Spurs capitalized on that with the points off turnover. So, yeah, they definitely took advantage of it. Just see kind of a final total here. Yeah, 22 turnovers for the game for Minnesota, leading to 19 points off turnovers for the Spurs. So Spurs took advantage of the Wolves shooting themselves in the foot. I want to quickly, before we get into turning point and all that good stuff in a bit, I just want to go to some of the player stats here, just something that I really enjoyed seeing. De'Aaron Fox, he was, I believe, he was in the plus minus for the game one because of the 6 turnovers, right?
Yeah.
In game 2, he was a plus 24, tied for the best plus minus with Dylan Harper. He also had a plus 24. And you look at what Fox did in game 2, 16 points, 2 assists, 25 minutes, 50% shooting from the field. It just goes on and on. Made both of his 3-point shots. Really was key for the Spurs. And that's the De'Aaron Fox that we need, or the Spurs need, I should say, moving forward in this series and beyond if they survive versus Minnesota. You got contributions from a lot of people. Harrison Barnes. I know it was garbage time, but still 12 points off the bench there. Lindy Waters in garbage time, 8 points. Julian Champagnie, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block on Ant. How often do you hear that? And I should say, driving to the basket, Ant.
Yeah.
He got him. So, and by the way, Champagnie goes 4 for 6 from the 3 line. Yeah, I told you he was Super Mario Brother after he ate that flower, man. The firepower flower. Yeah, that's exactly who he was. All in all, it was a great night. And of course, can't ignore Victor. Again, 19 points, 15 rebounds on the night, 4 offensive rebounds, and he made 2 3-pointers. Rudy, are you okay with that? He was 2 of 7.
Are
you okay with that?
I'm okay that he made 2, but I was not okay that he kept shooting them and struggling. I'm like, man,
you still want him to just give it up, or do you want him to give it up completely?
So, I mean, rookie year Victor Wembanyama, yeah, I wanted him to give up the 3-point shot. As I saw him improve throughout his career so far, I'm okay with it. But when you're not knocking him down and you're dominating the paint, again, just go into the paint, man. They're not going to be able to stop you. Gobert looks like an offensive lineman when you're trying to guard, a wide receiver when it comes to him. But no, I mean, I'm okay with him shooting them. It's just when he's not knocking him down. The thing with shooting in basketball is a player needs to see the ball go through the hoop. So get a couple of shots, inside the 3-point range, and then you can kind of start to flutter out a little bit, knock them down. But I mean, I'll tell you one quick before you move on. Remember what I said last game, Jeff? Luke Cornett, 8 minutes. He had 13 tonight. He upped his minutes a little bit more. And again, you see when Luke plays, Victor doesn't have to play as much. Another key that we'll get into later for.
Yeah, exactly. Did you like the double big they had out there? They hadn't really used that a lot.
Finally.
You're okay with it? Okay.
Fine. Yeah. You need the double big against Oklahoma City sometimes with Hardenstein and Chet Holmgren. So may as well get it in now while you're up 40 points.
Yeah, I agreed with it too because Minnesota is a big team, big guard, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, the Gobert, obviously. The list goes on and on. So I like seeing that, and it was effective, at least in game 2. All right, Rudy, what do you want to do? You want to go to our specifics here, turning point, standout stats, or you want to see what the fans are talking about right now?
You know me. It's whatever you would decide. You put me on the spotlight. That's whatever comes up, I talk about.
And on that note, everybody, I'm going to just pull a fast one on Rudy, and I'm going to go the turning point. What was the turning point of the game?
So, turning point of the game for me was Mitch Johnson on the sideline, and you saw it a few times, getting after his players, getting after Carter Bryant, making me feel like if I turned my head, I was back in the Pop era when he would jump on his players from the sideline. Turning point for me, Jeff, was from the opening tip where the defense just dominated Minnesota. I mean, when they came out and they were playing aggressive, they were getting the calls, they were getting the turnovers. Minnesota would score and think, okay, then all of a sudden De'Aaron Fox was down the court getting the layup, or you would see, Stephon Castle getting a dunk, Victor getting the layup. They just could not compete with San Antonio tonight, even after a made shot. Spurs didn't give them any opportunity to set up their defense. So again, the turning point for me was the intensity from the opening tip. Was Mitch Johnson getting on everybody's asses tonight on the defensive side of the ball. Key point was them making those switches on the defensive side. Everything just fell into place tonight. My turning point was when the game started. They did
exactly. Yeah, it's hard to find a turning point of the game because once the Spurs took control, they took control, and there was no doubt. For a little bit during the game, while I was watching it, I kept on thinking, okay, it's a 10-9 point lead for the Spurs. This is, I'm on Minnesota. We got them right where we want. Isn't this the same Minnesota team that came back from a 20-plus deficit versus the Spurs?
Yeah, in Minnesota.
Yeah. So it was in San Antonio. Actually, I was there for that game. I was bracing for that, and I said, okay, any moment now, the tide's going to turn, and here we go. And it never did. It never did. And Edwards was a non-factor for the most part. A lot just their guy Ayo comes back from injury and he leaves the game
because of injury.
Because of injury. Yeah. So again, they're down another power player. Gobert was Gobert for his standards, but Julius Randle wasn't really I just thought they were just off. They were just so off. For me, my turning point is when the Spurs really took control of the game. Now, I get it. By this point, it was already a blowout. So we're going to fast forward to the third period right now, everybody, where the score was 64-44 with about 8 minutes left in the third period. But things turned around for the Spurs where they were just like the Death Star riding up to Alderaan and hitting that laser beam on Minnesota's chances to win. They went on a plus 15 run from 8-minute mark of the third period to the end. Yeah. They ended that with that final score. I'm sorry, the final period score at going into the fourth quarter was 98-63. It was a plus 15. It was a 34-19 run. In that run, Champagnie, 19 points, 4 from 4 from the field. Wemby, Castle, they both had 5 points, and the Spurs connected on their 3 shots, 6 of 9 in that third period run to close out the period going into the final frame. 10 fast break points, 3 blocks collectively for the Spurs. That's my turning point where they left no doubt for the Wolves that this game too was in their pocket. But yeah, what a run it was. 34-19 run. I mean, it was really a destruction already. But man, like I said, they just went Death Star on Alderaan in that third period. They just destroyed them.
Would you say this resembled the Thanos versus Hulk in the Avengers?
Yes. Yes. Well, don't get me started on that, man. Don't get me started on that. I'll go flipping tables here. I was like, how, what? See, here I go. All right. Let's go with some standout stats. Rudy, what's your standout stat, man? What's your standout stat?
So my standout stat, I'm going to stick with the exact same thing that I did last game. It's my fast break points for the night. I mean, 29-5 San Antonio. Again, they ran Minnesota out of the gym, even though they lost game 1. It paid off again. You saw them getting the rebound, getting steals, and getting just on the fast break. Every time Minnesota seemed to score in the first half, the Spurs were just running a fast break down the court. So that's my biggest standout was the 29-5. If you're going to give, a team like the Spurs that kind of, deficit when it comes to fast break points, it's going to be very, very difficult. Why? Because you're huffing and puffing to get to the other end of the court. Then you have to bring the ball in as the Spurs are setting up for one of the better defenses in the league. So, yeah, definitely for me, it's 29-5. If there's another one I had to get stat-wise, and I'm sorry if I take it from you, but it's points in the paint, 58-36. That just shows that guys like Harper, Castle, Fox, Victor, these guys, Keldon Johnson, again, I think he had like 9 points tonight, but those 9 points were huge because he was attacking the basket, something that we saw him do all year. When this team attacks the basket, it opens up the 3-point line for Champagnie and other guys. So again, it was a mixture of good things for San Antonio tonight. Those are my 2 standout stats.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it was just annihilation from about the end of the first to the end of the game. It really was. Now, the final frame, 35-32, that was a score just in the fourth period alone. But again, that was a lot of garbage time. I mean, Joel Ingles made an appearance in the Minnesota. Kyle Anderson made an appearance. McLaughlin made appearances. Water. I mean, it was really that Bismack got in. So it really was kind of a wash at that point. It was kind of a wash. For me, my standout stat is time leading. For a Spurs fan, you're loving this. So the game, Rudy, is 48 minutes, right? That's what they say. It's a 48-minute game, right? The Spurs led for 46 and 1 second. 46 minutes and 1 second for the game, while the Wolves led for 17 seconds. It was that kind of night for the Spurs. it was nearly a wire-to-wire win. I was hoping it would be, but obviously it didn't. Can't get them all, especially in this game, this very lopsided game. But that just tells me, again, that they were in control. They did not give the Wolves any type of sign of life, any hope, nothing. Capitalizing off turnovers, connecting on their threes that we saw Champagne do. Victor was being Victor. Harper was being Harper. Castle was being Castle. All in all, this was just a nearly complete win. This was nearly a complete win that I've seen from the Spurs in this postseason run. This was just an impressive win from the Silver and Black. Hey, really real quick, though, before we get to our final little note here, standout player. What do you think about Castle and Highland kind of getting into it? Look at the replay. It was Castle that kind of started things.
So they were battling before Castle actually pushed him, trying to get position on that jump ball. It's players being players, and Stefan Castle. You don't really see it, but he's going to be my standout guy in a little bit here. Kind of has a short fuse in a way, which isn't always a bad thing, but it could lead to early foul trouble, and that's something that I think the refs even say, hey, you know what?
Chill.
You got to chill out. And again, before the jump ball, Bones Highland was wrapping up with Castle. He did hold Castle a little bit. So obviously when the jump ball was made, Castle pushed back. Highlands didn't like it. Highlands pushed Castle back. Yeah. I'm glad to see Scott Foster and the rest of the crew.
He got in there quick.
He saw it happen. He saw Steph Castle push Bones Highland, which is a foul. Obviously, you got caught. But he also saw that, hey, Bones Highland did retaliate, which is a technical foul. But I'm okay with it. It's playoff basketball, man. At the end of the day, you know what? Yeah. It is what it is, and that's playoff. Before you go, Jeff, I want to do one last thing with a standout stat that I forgot to mention. I want to give you the number 5, and that's all 5 starters played less than a half of basketball.
Good point.
Victor and actually De'Aaron played 26 minutes, which is just over half of basketball.
Perfect.
This is what you want to see out of this team because they get rest for that next game to be a lot more fresher. In the Portland series, they were playing 30, 32 plus minutes a game. Last game, they had, a good amount of points. I mean, a good amount of minutes as well. So I love that stat that Mitch was able to get these guys under a half of basketball, basically. That's chef's kiss for y'all tonight. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great point. And Mitch talked about that. I believe it was during the Blazers series, I believe, where he was like, hey, I kind of didn't really manage these guys' minutes as well as I should. So I'm glad that he took initiative for that as well. But yeah.
He listens to the show. I love it. He listens to
he does. Show. He says, oh, Rudy's on. Rudy's live? Let me get my notes going. Because Mr. Campos might be giving me some gems out there that I can use in game. Going back to that Castle Highland thing, they played the replay over and over again. And to my opinion, it started off just as any player trying to, battle for position. That's all I took it as. And then, man, I could have swore I think Castle kind of threw a little push in there.
He did.
And that kind of got sparked Highland. And then here we go. But you're right, though. Castle, he does a lot of this. Does a lot of chirping, but it's very low key. Harper is just overt about it.
Yeah.
He is just looking and staring and smiling and saying remarks and everything. Castle, I think he does like those quiet under the breath comments that just enough for the other player hears. I don't know if you saw this, but during the game, forgot which Wolf player was shooting free throws, but they had the camera at the Wolves player. In the back, you can see Harper just chirping and talking to the player and just talking trash. And who's next to him? Castle. Yeah. And Castle's kind of doing this little side like this, like, yeah, keep on doing it. As he was saying it. So, hey, look, they're dogs, man. They're young dogs. They're in the game. I like that. All right, let's go to our final category here before we get to you guys. Yes, we're not going to forget about you before we put a wrap. Let's go to standout players and wait to hear what Rudy has to say.
All right, standout player for me now. Before I get into a standout player that I think people are going to be like, well, why is he calling him out? My standout player on a positive side was, as mentioned by one of the fans, Carter Bryant. I mean, you saw when he came in, he did the little thing, something that he's done all season long. He only had, 2 points, but it was a difference that he guarded Anthony Edwards, the way he was able to guard, even Julius Randle at times. he made it tough for a lot of these players, and that's something you'd want to see from Carter Bryant. Supposed to be the next 3-and-D type player for San Antonio. So again, played magnificent. We questioned whether his not being on the court last game, being injured, would make a difference, and it showed tonight that he does make a difference when he plays. Now, the other standout I have is it's Stephon Castle, but not for the reasons why a lot of people may think. Yeah, he finished the game with 21 points, but the thing that I'm looking at with Stephon Castle that a lot of fans need to be aware of, or maybe you are aware, is the foul trouble that he gets into. He fouled out last game. He had 5 fouls tonight. Potentially could have had 6 fouls, if I'm not mistaken. I think they rescinded one after a challenge. So the thing with Stephon is that he is very aggressive. He's a very aggressive defender. He's an aggressive offensive player. You kind of see him use the chicken wing that a lot of players like to use on the offensive side. Doesn't really get called for it a lot, but he does get called for it from time to time. A lot of the fouls that he does commit are so ticky-tack fouls, and they're fouls that you just don't expect him to have, especially in the playoffs right now. Why? If he gets into foul trouble early, again, it makes it difficult for the San Antonio Spurs to keep momentum going. Luckily, tonight they were able to keep it, and that's the reason why I'm bringing up this next point. You hear everybody talk about De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, when he has a bad game, he needs to go. He has this, he needs to be traded. This is why, if you really, really look at the picture, guys, you keep a player like De'Aaron Fox, because with Castle, you allow him to be aggressive on the defensive side. Take those chances. If he gets in early foul trouble, you still have a two-headed monster with Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. So this is why De'Aaron Fox is not expendable. This is why you keep a player like De'Aaron Fox. You need a 3-guard rotation, because this allows Castle to continue to play that way that he is, but at the same time, he has to really control his fouls, because, Jeff, I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of the fouls that he gets, some of them are like, why are you doing that? Why are you reaching in? Why are you doing this? I get you want to be aggressive, but you need to stay in the game. It doesn't help the team if you cannot stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, I just got a text from Brian Wright. He said noted to you,
Noted.
Rudy.
I'm telling you.
He said noted. Yeah. He said
Brian,
noted for Fox's future in San Antonio.
Brian needs to come on the show so we can make sure he's aware of it.
Can you imagine that? But anyway, no. Good point. You know, right now, Castle is averaging about literally 5 fouls in this series so far through 2 games now.
He averages 5 fouls against Minnesota, period. Look at his career.
And it's always Minnesota. For some reason, it's Minnesota. Even in the regular season, as you highlighted, he gets in foul trouble. Every time.
Go ahead.
Man. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Well, for me, my standout player, and again, I'm not going to go the easy route with, it's going to be Wemby, because it's getting too easy, man. For me, I'm going to go with Julian Champagnie. I got to take Julian. Again, on the night, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists in 22 minutes. He was getting it done offensively and defensively as well. You mentioned that block on Ant Edwards. And what I liked about it, too, 0 turnovers for the whole game. No turnovers. He was a plus 19 in game 2. Big reason why the Spurs got the win, as I highlighted in my standout stat, was the run. In that run, he led the team. His shot was falling down. His 3-shot was falling down. He was doing everything right for the Spurs. He only committed 1 foul for the game. So, get this. His true shooting percentage in game 2, 100%. 100%. What about his effective field goal percentage? 100%. This guy was on fire. 4 for 6 from the field, and 4 from 6 from the 3 line. I think he took 4 3-pointers or 6 3-pointers from the field and made 4 of them. That's it. He didn't even take a 2-point shot in the game. That's how key he was. Shot 66% from the field, from the 3 line, I should say, and 2 steals. Getting it done defensively as well. Yeah, I got to go with Julian Champagnie as my standout player. All right, before we put a bow on this live episode of Spurs in Focus, it's your turn. Rudy, what's everybody talking about in the chat room?
Yeah, so appreciate Silver Wolf Ventures. He's been in here he's been here all night, actually, with a lot of comments. Just mentioned a little while ago about Castle.
Way to go, Silver.
Says Castle is doing his job. Unfortunately, calls have not gone his way. He still can't let up. And again, I understand that, but that's the reason why you keep a guy like De'Aaron Fox, because you allow Castle to continue to be aggressive.
Mhm.
So I love that comment. Jacob Eric in here, who's a friend of the show as well, hard worker
Yep.
with us over here, says Harper looks like a second-year player. Definitely, Jeff. I want to get your thoughts on this because I mentioned with Silver Wolf. He says he knows Wemby's a guy, but Castle is the blood running through the veins of the team.
Ooh,
Is
I
that
love
something
that.
we see? Because Castle brings that fire. You know, he brings
He
that
does.
energy. What do you think on that?
I would only change that Silver, but I would add Castle is the boiling blood running through the veins of the team. Yeah, I think he brings that heat, that fire. I mean, he is the definition of the Spurs dog on this roster right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not to say Keldon isn't, he is. I say Harper isn't, he is, or the other guys, but man, my goodness, you know, it is Castle that just brings that eye of the tiger, man, that I'm going to let the dark side get into me and I'm going to just go for it and just attack. I love it. By the way, just in case you missed it, hopefully Jacob Eric is still listening. You know, it was his birthday recently. Just go with it, Rudy. Just go with it.
I did
just
know.
say happy birthday. Yeah, just say happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jacob Eric. Again, I mean, you have like 10 throughout the year, so happy birthday. I know the joke. I know the joke.
Okay, all right. Who else are we talking about?
JC says the T-Wolves just got broken physically or psychologically tonight.
Yeah.
Any team should dread playing in our city. Love that comment. We got another one here, and I want to get your thoughts on it. This one right here. Silver Wolf Venture again brought it up, and I got one more after this, but
yeah.
What about Coach Pop in the film room? That was noted, and that was actually mentioned about, and I think recently when Spurs rumors that Coach Pop was in the film room with these guys this past week before Game 2. Do you think Coach Pop brought another sense of, hey, you may want to try this? Maybe this is what you're missing. How do you feel about Coach Pop still being involved with the Spurs like this? Because people had a problem with, you know, Pop and Mitch, and Pop trying to be more controlling over Mitch in Mitch's first year when Pop went out, obviously, for the entire season. Do you still think that this is a good thing to have? Or, I mean, what do you think on that?
Hey, if a walking encyclopedia of basketball knowledge is in your office, you use it, you tap into it. And I have no issues with that. Look at this point, it's the playoffs. You get the help wherever you can get it. And if you can get it from a Hall of Fame coach like that, you do it. All right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I got a couple more. KWAPT says Spurs' aggressive defense and great transition just overwhelmed Minnesota. And I think that's exactly what we talked about earlier, Jeff, is that once Minnesota scored, you were like, oh, okay, we're good. And then all of a sudden you look down court, you have Harper, you have Castle just getting a layup, De'Aaron Fox. It was just a tremendous game by San Antonio. Last comment in here from Jacob Barrett. Do you think Mitch plays more Cornet and Wemby next game now that he's tried it? That's a good question, but
I say yes.
I'm gonna give you mine, and I'll let Jeff. You can answer this after this, but I'm gonna say no, only because I don't think Mitch has the trust in Olynyk and Plumlee and those guys just yet. I think with Carter Bryant on the court, he still is a little undersized, so I think we may see a Cornet Wemby lineup maybe for about 4 or 5 minutes at a time, but I don't expect him to go with it for longer than that.
I see what you're saying, like extended minutes.
Yeah, I think extended minutes. So what do you think on that?
I think I agree with you then. Then that's the case. Yeah, I think he tries it out, and because you don't want to see both of them get in foul trouble for some stupid reason. And then, who do we go to now? Oh, we got a small ball big. Carter Bryant, you're back in, and then the Wolves have all the energy and the control now of the game. Can we go back to KWAPT? I'm gonna see. I've known him for a very, very long time. He and I go back decades. Sure. I'm not kidding. How you pronounce it is actually Quapt. Right? Okay. And if you're still here, if I remember correctly, what you told me so many years ago at the Garden when I went to go Spurs Boston, we were having drinks in the alley. Quapt. Was it Kobe wears a pink tight? I think that's what it means. Kobe wears a pink tights or something like that.
We got to get the answer to that.
Who's in here? The answer to that. But no, good comments. Any other comments, Rudy, before we put a bow on this?
No, you're actually good on that. Last one was there, Jacob, just saying, scratching my head. But I mean, appreciate the comments that came in. Your boy Quap did say he is a first-time listener and he did subscribe to the channel.
Good stuff.
Great comments, guys. And again, appreciate everybody that joined us here tonight.
Absolutely. Once again, your San Antonio Spurs tie up the series in the West semis with the Minnesota Timberwolves with the score of 133-95. It was a laugher. It was a complete lopsided win for your San Antonio Spurs. Now the scene shifts to Minnesota. Minnesota stole game one. They stole the home court advantage. Spurs got to get it back. Game three, I think historically, Rudy, correct? Whoever usually wins game three wins the series, no matter if it's 0-2 or 1-1, right?
Yeah, so game three is usually the turning point for a series, especially after the first round. But doesn't necessarily mean Spurs fans need to jump off the ledge either if they lose, because if they get game four, then that game does go to game five, which would be in San Antonio. So I would say this: they just got to get one of these next two games.
That's it.
That's
one of them back. Yeah.
One of them's great. If they sweep them in Minnesota, hey, by all means, they sweep them. But I think they got to get at least just one of these next three games.
And once again, your Spurs in the playoffs have not lost back-to-back games. It still hasn't happened. So good on the Spurs. They make the right corrections, the right fixes, everything. So yeah, good. Yeah, I agree with the last comment here from Sam. Game three is huge for the Wolves. I think the pressure is on the Wolves right now. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, good win for your Spurs. It was easy street for your silver and black. Now game three looms this Friday in Minnesota. All right. You want to follow us, right? So you want to follow Rudy on X at The Sports Answer. Follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. And Rudy, I think this week's Friday's episode of The Answer, I think somebody's filling in for you, right?
Yeah. So as you can know, the Sports Answer, the Friday drive show, what comes to you Friday, as part of Answer Now TV. And I unfortunately won't be there. I have another commitment. My daughter is having a sports banquet, so she gets her non-MVP award. She wasn't the MVP this year, so
next year,
maybe next year. But we will have Jeff Garcia filling in over at the Friday Drive, and it should be him with Derek Irvin as well. So again, it's going to be a great show on Friday. They're going to talk everything silver and black. They may even bring out some other stuff too. Maybe Jeff can get Derek to talk about some of his old NBA days when he was playing. So it's going to be another great show, and you can also catch more shows from the Sports Answer on Answer Now TV. So yeah, be sure to subscribe on Answer Now TV on YouTube.
Best way to do it is just simply follow Rudy on X at The Sports Answer. You want to do that ASAP. Rudy, thank you for staying up late with me here at a live episode of Spurs in Focus. And we thank y'all for making Spurs in Focus your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. You don't want to go anywhere else. No, you don't. You want to stay right here at Spurs in Focus. Should be your first listen, your only listen every single day when you want to find out what's going on with the silver and black. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube Music, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, the list goes on and on. Spurs in Focus Substack, completely free. You just go there, hit subscribe, and you become part of the Spurs in Focus crew. You want to do that ASAP. We'll be back tomorrow to preview Game 3. We got a guest on deck, and we're going to be raring to go. So for Mr. Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia, and now you're in Focus with Spurs in Focus.